Hello, welcome back. It's so good to see you. So today we are going to be doing another true crime video. Yay! I really like doing these videos, so I hope that you enjoyed them. I do want to mention that I am getting over a cold, so if I sound a little different, that's why. But I still wanted to be able to get this video out to you guys. So, yeah, let's get started. So this is going to be about Keith Jesperson, also known as the Happy Face Killer. So let's get started. Okay, Keith Hunter Jesperson was born on April 6th, 1955, to Leslie or Les and Gladys Jesperson in Chilliwack, British Columbia, Canada. He was the middle child with two brothers and two sisters. His father was a very violent and domineering alcoholic, and Keith claimed that his parental grandfather was also violent. Les Jesperson denied being an abusive parent. However, other family members later backed up these claims of abuse. So, in his younger years, Keith was given less attention than his siblings and treated differently by the rest of his family. After moving to Selah, Washington, Keith had trouble fitting in and making new friends because of his large size. He was very, very tall, even at a young age. His brothers didn't help with that either. Instead, they nicknamed him Igor, a name that stuck throughout his school years. Because of this, he was a shy child, content to play with himself much of the time, and he would often get into trouble for behaving badly, sometimes behaving violently, and would be severely punished by his father. This included beatings, sometimes with a belt in front of others, and in one case he received an electric shock from his father. It doesn't say how that occurred, but still, yikes. At a very early age, as young as 5, Keith would capture and torture animals. He enjoyed watching animals kill each other, as well as the feeling he got from taking their lives. This continued as he got older. He would capture birds and stray cats and dogs from around the trailer park where he lived with his family, severely beating the animals and then strangling them to death. Something he claims that his father was proud of him for. In the years following, Keith said he often thought about what it would be like to do the same to a human. That desire manifested in 2 attempted murders. The first happened when Keith was around 10 years old. He was friends with a boy named Martin, and the two would often get into trouble together. Keith claimed he was punished many times for things Martin had done and blamed on Keith. This led Keith to attack Martin, violently beating him until his father pulled him away. He later claimed his intention was to kill the boy. Approximately a year later, Keith was swimming in a lake when another boy held him under the water until he blacked out. Sometime later, at a public pool, Keith attempted to drown that boy, holding his head under the water until a lifeguard pulled him away. Keith graduated high school in 1973, but did not attend college because his father did not believe that he could do it. Although he was not successful with girls in high school, having never attended a high school dance or his own prom, he did enter into a relationship after high school. In 1975, Keith was 20. He married Rose Huckey, and the couple had 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. Keith worked as a truck driver to support the family. Several years later, Ruth began to suspect Keith was having affairs. tension in the marriage increased, and after 14 years, Rose decided she had had enough. While Keith, a truck driver, was on the road, she packed up her and her children's belongings and drove 200 miles away to live with her parents in Spokane, Washington. Keith continued to spend time with his children when he was in town. The couple eventually divorced in 1990. At the age of 35, standing at 6 foot 6 inches tall and weighing approximately 240 pounds, Keith began working toward the goal of being a Royal Canadian Mounted Policeman. But an injury suffered while training ended that dream. He then sought work again as an interstate truck driver. After relocating to Cheney, Washington, he soon realized that this job afforded him the opportunity to kill without being suspected. His first known victim was Tanya Bennett. On January 23, 1990, near Portland, Oregon, he introduced himself to Bennett at a bar and later invited her to his house that he had been renting. The two were intimate before he started an argument that ended with him brutally beating and then strangling her to death. He established an alibi by going back out for some drinks, being sure to converse with others before returning to retrieve Bennett's body and belongings to dispose of them. He was back on the road the next day. The body was found a few days later, but there were no suspects and no leads. A few months later, around 10 p.m. on Thursday, April 12, 1990, in a shopping center parking lot in Mount Shasta, California, next to the I-5 corridor, Keith was approached by an intoxicated woman carrying an infant. Both the woman and child ended up in Keith's car, where a conversation started. She introduced herself as Jean and the child as her 6-month-old son. Keith told her his full name and information about where he worked and where he was headed. The conversation soon turned sexual, and they drove to a remote location. During an act of oral sex, while the infant was in the back seat, Jean stopped and asked to be driven home. Keith forced her to finish the act and then attempted to break her neck when she became angry. Failing to break her neck and not wanting to kill the child, Keith returned the woman and the child to the shopping center. Keith was arrested at gunpoint in Corning, California soon after. The personal details he revealed had led police straight to him. He was questioned at the scene and then uncuffed and told to go speak to a detective with the Shasta Police Department, which he immediately did. He was interrogated and claimed her neck getting twisted was simply an accident from the cramped space of the car. He also led them to evidence that supported his version of events, including showing them an empty liquor bottle near the parking lot that he claimed was Jean's. His version was apparently more believable than Jean's, and he was released. Despite that, a charge was filed against him for sexual assault. When he failed to appear in court, a felony warrant was issued. He was later arrested in Iowa at a weight check station after they ran his name in the National Crime Information Center database. Finding the outstanding warrant from California. However, Shasta County's warrant was too weak, so the charge was reduced to a misdemeanor. After that, the cost of extradition wasn't worth it, and he was eventually exonerated of all charges. It was a year and a half after his first kill that Keith killed again. On August 30th, 1992, the body of a woman he raped and strangled was found near Blythe, California. He says the Jane Doe's name was Claudia. A month later, in Turlock, California, the body of Cynthia Lynn Rose was discovered. He claims she was a prostitute who entered his truck at a truck stop while he was sleeping. His fourth victim was another prostitute, Lori Ann Pentland of Salem, Oregon. Her body was found in November of that year. According to Keith, she attempted to double the fee she charged for the sex he had engaged in with her. She threatened to call the police, and he strangled her. It was more than 6 months before his next victim was found in July 1993, a Jane Doe in Santa Ana, California. Police originally considered her death a drug overdose. More than a year later, in September 1994, another Jane Doe was found in Crestview, Florida. Keith claims her name was Susan. In January 1995, Keith agreed to take a young woman, Angela Surprise, from Spokane, Washington to Indiana in his truck. Approximately a week into the trip, Angela became impatient and began to nag Keith to hurry up as she wanted to see her boyfriend. In response, Keith raped and strangled her. He then strapped her to the undercarriage of his truck and dragged her face down to grind off her face and prints. Her body was not found for several months, and then only after Keith gave details to the police. 2 months after murdering Angela Surprise, Keith decided that his longtime girlfriend, Julie Ann Winningham, was only interested in him for his money. So on March 10th, 1995, Keith strangled her. She was the only victim he had a link to, which ultimately led police to his trail. Keith was arrested on March 30th, 1995, for the murder of Julie Ann Winningham. He had been questioned by police a week before, but they had no grounds to arrest him after he refused to talk. In the days following, Keith decided that he was certainly going to be arrested, and after 2 failed suicide attempts, he turned himself in, hoping it would result in leniency during his sentencing. While in custody, Keith began revealing details of his killings and making claims of many others, most of which he later recanted. Also, a few days before his arrest, he wrote a letter to his brother. In it, he confessed to having killed 8 people over the course of 5 years. This led police agencies in several states across the country to reopen old cases, many of which were found to be positive victims of Keith Jesperson. Keith is known to have killed 8 women over the course of 5 years. Strangulation was his preferred method, the same method he often used to kill animals as a child. After the body of his first victim, Tanya Bennett, was found, media attention surrounded a woman by the name of Laverne Pavlinek, a woman who falsely confessed to killing Tanya Bennett with her abusive boyfriend. Keith was upset that he was not getting the attention and first drew the smiley face on the bathroom wall where he wrote an anonymous confession for the murder, hundreds of miles away from the scene of the crime. When that did not elicit a response, he began writing the letters to media and prosecutors. Although Keith at one point claimed to have had as many as 160 victims, only the 8 women killed in California, Florida, Nebraska, Oregon, Washington, and Wyoming have been confirmed. He is serving 3 consecutive life sentences at the Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem. Okay, so as always, I have questions and I have comments about this story. Yeah, so, okay. Number one, like, why was he treated so differently when he was a child? You know, like, why? That also makes me question, like, does that factor into who he became, you know? I don't know. It's just like, why treat your children different? I don't get that. And then, why was his dad proud of him for killing and beating animals? Like, if I found out that my son or daughter did any harm to any animal, I would not be proud of that at all. That would just be the most awful thing that I can imagine. Like, no. And then I just think that his dad is like a piece of crap. I'm sorry. But he just seems like he was not the best. Also, I wish there was more information on his mother, because there's literally like nothing. But he didn't go to college because his dad didn't believe in him. He was like, you're not good enough for college. So like, his whole life he was treated differently, and he was, you know, put down a lot, and he grew up with this mentality that I'm not good enough, you know, like, why even try? Like, I feel like that affected who he became, you know? So he just didn't even try. He didn't try at all to even go to college or better his life. But he did get married, and to a woman named Rose, and she suspected affairs because I watched in this documentary that he would have women on the side in like all different states and stuff, because he would travel everywhere, and he would have little like side piece girlfriends or whatever, and if he was gone for too long, or, you know, didn't call, back then they didn't have cell phones or anything like that, so they could just look up his number in a phone book and then call his house, and, you know, like, that's crazy. So they would call his house and be like, you know, is Keith there? And she's like, no, this is his wife. And they're like, well, this is his girlfriend and he needs to call me, and blah blah blah. And it's like, there was no suspecting. He full on had affairs and she was just done with it. So yeah. But then after they got separated, he had, I guess, more free time, and he did try to better himself, I guess, because he attempted to join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police training academy or something. I don't know. But during training, he got injured. So, you know, that like crushed his dreams. But I'm like, would he have ended up a good man if he, you know, wasn't injured? Because it wasn't until after that that he realized that he had more time and that he could get away with killing people if he wanted to, you know. And then yeah, with his first victim, Tanya Bennett, it said that he got into an argument with her after they had become intimate and they were back at his place. They had gotten into an argument, and whatever it was that they argued about made him so enraged that he just decided to strangle and kill her. Like, what was the argument about that caused him to cross that line? And was there even an argument? Did he just make that up? Was he just like, I'm gonna bring this girl home to have sex with her and then I'm gonna kill her? Like, had he planned that? I don't know. And then the girl in the parking lot with the baby who was drunk. Like, first of all, what the crap, dude? You have a baby, like, what are you doing? But she was performing oral, and then she was like, halfway through, she was just like, just take me home or something? And he got mad and tried to break her neck. Like, what? And then, like, the police took his side. That would never happen today, I don't think. Just, and the fact that later he, didn't show up to court, so there was a warrant out for his arrest, and then they were like, it'll cost too much money to have him down here, so just, you know what, let's just say it never happened. You're innocent. You've been exonerated. Like, what? I can't believe stuff like that happens. And then, okay, so the one prostitute, Cynthia Lynn Rose, he said that all he said, even in the interviews, was that she was a prostitute that entered his truck while he was sleeping. Well, what? What happened? Why did he feel that she needed to die? Like, okay, so she snuck in. Was she trying to steal from him? Or, like, what? I don't get that. Why was his first idea to, oh, she's in my truck, I guess she wants to die? Like, where does that come from? And then the last person, I think it was the last person that he killed, was his girlfriend, because he believed that she was just with him for his money. Well, how about just break up with her? Like, why kill her, And it's just like, that murder is what got him caught, which is good that he was caught. But it's like, if you didn't want to get caught, don't kill somebody that you know. That's how lots of killers get caught. It's because they get too close to home. But like, that was a stupid kill. It's like, just break up with her. Not that the other kills weren't stupid. Please don't take that the wrong way. But like, that could have been done a different way. You know what I mean? Just break up with her. I don't know. And then it's like, almost like, did he want to get caught? Because like, before he even turned himself in, he wrote a letter to his brother confessing like 8 murders or something. I don't know. But like, why would he do that? Why? And then I'm just like, well, maybe, I have a lot of thoughts. But I'm like, maybe he needed the attention that he lacked when he was a child. I mean, I don't know, because when someone else tried to take the blame for, that one murder, I can't remember, Bennett or something, instead of just letting them take the credit and be arrested for it, he chose to write the thing on the bathroom stall, and then that didn't get attention, so he started writing letters to the authorities and to the news, channels and stuff, and he would always sign it with a smiley face. And it's like, he wanted people to know that he's the one who did it. He didn't want somebody else to take credit for it. And like, I watched a phone interview with him. They wouldn't allow an in-person interview. I'm sure that there are in-person interviews out there, but I watched them doing a phone interview with him, just talking about the killings and stuff like that. And yeah, they wouldn't let a camera in there because he enjoyed that attention too much. So it's like, he got off on people knowing that he did the killings, and he enjoyed it too much. And so they were like, no, you can do a phone interview, but no cameras. But he had like no remorse at all. And he talked about the killings like they were just no big deal. Like, yeah, it happened. And they were like, well, don't you have any remorse for the families? Or, and he was like, well, yeah, I'm sorry it happened, but it happened, so it's over with. Get over it. And he literally said, get over it, move on. And it's like, who talks like that? Just, ugh, people like him just make me sick, you know? Like, how do people like that exist? I just don't understand. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, so I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I thought it was an interesting story. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.